Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Andrew Dolphiny, and I'm the Instruction and Outreach Librarian at the New Jersey State Library. And we have with us today Lee Clark, who is our Funding and Information Librarian at the library. So if you have any specific questions, maybe related to our collection that you would like to pose to Lee, she would be here to answer them. And our presenter today is Susan Merrill O'Connor, the Director of Communications from the Center for Nonprofits. So we like to thank Susan for presenting today. Before we get started, I just have a few quick housekeeping things to go through. We will be taking questions about the middle of the program as well as at the end of the program. So please feel free to submit them at any time using the questions box in the GoToWebinar dashboard, or if you would prefer to email me directly, you can, and my email address is on the screen. It is adauphinee@njstatelib.org. And again, we'll be pausing halfway through for questions, and then we will also have some time at the end to answer your questions as well. There is a handout for today if you would like to download it. It's a social media resource list put out by Susan, and you can find that in the handout section of the GoToWebinar dashboard. You can just click on the file name and that will download the file. If you are using Google Chrome, depending on your settings, it might not download correctly or there might be an issue. You can try a different browser or you can wait for the follow-up email, which will include the handout as well. So um, at the end of this program, as well as in a follow-up email from GoToWebinar, you'll be asked to complete a survey. If you could complete that, we would greatly appreciate that. We take your feedback very seriously, and it does help us as we move forward with developing and refining our programming. And if you're interested in just a whole host of information related to nonprofits, you can visit the Center for Nonprofits at www.njnonprofits.org. And they have so much information on there, especially related to starting or forming a nonprofit. It's a very, very great resource, and I encourage you all to take advantage of that. This is what your GoToWebinar dashboard should look like. If you do not see this, look for this orange box with a white arrow either at the top left or right-hand side of your screen. That will open and close the dashboard, and it's possible that the dashboard loaded closed on you, so you can just click that and that'll pop it open. Also, if you were working in another program while you were waiting and you can't figure out how to navigate back, look for this blue clover type icon for GoToWebinar at the bottom of your screen in your taskbar, and you should be able to click on that, and that should be able to bring up the dashboard for you. At any point during the presentation, if you can't figure anything out, you're having problems, you can use this raise hand button here. Just click on that. That'll alert me that you're having some type of issue or you're trying to get in contact with one of us, and I will hopefully be able to resolve any issues or point you in the right direction to answer your question. As I mentioned, there is a handout today, and you will find it in this handout section in the middle here, where you can just click on the link and download it. And lastly, again, if you want to ask any questions, you can do so at any time. You can just type your question in here, hit the send button. That'll get sent to us, and we will be answering it once about halfway through, and then also we will take questions at the end. So that is everything that I have for you. I know, Lee, you had a quick announcement that you wanted to make.
Yes, thanks, Andrew. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Lee Clark. I'm the Business and Funding Information Librarian at the New Jersey State Library. So any business or nonprofit related questions usually come to me. And if you're not aware, the New Jersey State Library does have a nonprofit and funding related collection, both virtually through our electronic databases and in print, which can be requested normally outside of COVID related restrictions through your public library. So I encourage you to check out our Funding Information Center webpage, which has a ton of information that I'm not going to take up time sharing right now. I'm going to put that in the chat. So please, I encourage you to look at that website. It's at www.njstatelib.org/funding info. And then if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll put my email in the chat as well about the different resources that we have here at the New Jersey State Library. And I'm just going to take a moment to thank Susan for sharing her information and her time with us today. And I'm going to hand it over to her.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Lee and Andrew. It's a pleasure to be here. And thank you to the New Jersey State Library. So I am going to now show my screen. Hopefully you're seeing.
Yep, looks good.
Okay, great. Wonderful. Well, again, thank you to Lee and Andrew, and thank you to all of you for joining us today. This is a difficult time for most of us, and New Jersey nonprofits are at the forefront of their communities, and we really appreciate all that you're doing. So today's program is creating your nonprofit social media plan. But before I begin, let me tell you a little bit about the Center for Nonprofits. We are New Jersey's umbrella organization. We're doing advocacy on behalf of New Jersey's 501c3s. We have capacity building programs. We also have some member services as well. So check out our website, njnonprofits.org. As part of the Center for Nonprofits, you are also part of the National Council of Nonprofits if you're a member. We are a sister state association. There's almost 50 of them around the nation, all providing resources for their own states. But we are connected to a larger network, and that is the National Council of Nonprofits, and they're working on more of the federal level issues for nonprofits. We are too, but we're also working on the state issues as well. So New Jersey's nonprofits, we are a strong economic engine. We're 34,000 plus 501c3s in the state. Many of us are small to mid-sized. We employ about 10% of the private workforce, and we are providing $42 billion in expenditures annually, and 1.6 million volunteers, providing 5.3 billion in services. So I'm asking you to save the date for our annual conference. This year it will be virtual, like many of the events that are going on right now. It's December 2nd and 3rd. It's 2 days. Thanks to our wonderful sponsors, we do have quite a few scholarships available. So if it's not in your budget to attend, please reach out to me and we can make sure that we can get you a scholarship if you are a board member or a staff member of a 501c3 in New Jersey. I just want to let you know that on our website, we have a whole section on COVID-19 resources. And one of the things we put together was a reopening guide. We continually update the information in this guide. There's also a webinar. I would love for you to check it out. It's got a lot of great resources. Many of you have not closed and have been at the forefront and on the front line, but some of you are deciding to come back to your offices now and just needing a little guidance on how to open, how to maybe stagger some staff schedules, things like that. So check out our going forward guide. We're also working on diversity and equity issues for nonprofits in the state. This is our statement that we've made over the last few months. We've been very active. We've been active in this issue for a while, and we do have a free diversity and equity guide on our website that's specifically about nonprofits. So you really want to check that out. And again, this is our statement. And yesterday was the last day to register to vote in New Jersey, and hopefully everybody has registered. And we just want you to know that as nonprofits, you can certainly get out messages about voting. You know, we have to be nonpartisan, but you can really encourage your communities to vote. We did a webinar with the League of Women Voters in New Jersey on some of the new procedures in New Jersey as far as dropping off your ballot, mail-in, things like that. So check that out. It is on the front page of our website, njnonprofits.org. It's a great webinar. If you have any questions, please check it out. Stay connected with us. Here's our social media channels. We're going to be talking a lot about these, but in the meantime, love for you to join us on our social media. And if you're a nonprofit, we will definitely follow you back. I just want to let you know the information provided in this presentation is not legal advice. I'm not really going to be talking about too many legal issues, but if you have questions about anything, please contact your attorney. Also wanting to add to this disclaimer that I am not a digital expert. And full disclosure, I had intense fear of social media a few years back, but I've since gotten over that. And if you, no matter what level you are in social media expertise, I think that, you know, wherever you start is a good place to start. And I was definitely a late bloomer. But for me to be talking about it now, I just want to let you know that anybody can really handle social media. So please connect with me on LinkedIn. Here's my contact information, Susan Merrill O'Connor. LinkedIn is growing strong, so we'd love for you to not only connect with me on LinkedIn on my personal account, but also the Center for Nonprofits. We also have a program we do at Princeton Community Television, Nonprofits Front and Center. We've been having to do it remotely, but we hope to get back into the studio soon. So if you have a nonprofit topic that you'd like us to discuss, reach out to me directly and we could put you on our calendar. We really talk about the wide range issues affecting New Jersey nonprofits. You could look at some of our past recordings. It is on our website under the press room, and take a look at some of the things that we've done. Okay, so I'd like to know, here's our first poll, who's in the room? What's your role at your New Jersey nonprofit? Andrew, if you wouldn't mind putting the poll up, please. All right, great. So I see many of you we have executive directors, communications directors, other board members. Great. All right. Okay, so have we all seen the results and I can continue? Wonderful. All right, so we have a lot of board members and volunteers today too, and other. Great. All right, so hopefully you're seeing my who's in the room slide. Okay, so why do I need a plan for social media? Isn't the whole reason for social media to be spontaneous? This is what you might think. So you may be a nonprofit, but you're also a business, and having policies and procedures makes everyone's job easier. So by the end of this session, I hope that you'll actually put pen to paper and have an actual plan, at least a draft that you could share with your board and perhaps your staff, something that would get you started. I know many of you are probably already very busy on social media, but it's always good to take a step back and to kind of take inventory on what you're doing. Another reason is no matter how small your organization is, your social media personality should be separate than personal accounts. So your organization should have its own social media presence, but you as individuals should have your own too, but keep them very separate. Okay, knowing your analytics can help you report back to the nonprofits community and also to the communities you serve and your board. So having all of this in your plan is important. And having a plan takes away some of the anxiety and really justifies the time you spend on your social media. So when I first did this, create your nonprofit social media plan, I had 5 easy steps, but there really is a 6th step that we'll get to, and that's about relationship building. Decide what your goals are for being on social media. And I want you to keep in mind that while social media platforms might be cheap or sometimes free, your staff's time is very valuable, and social media should not be seen as free marketing because it's really not. So perhaps your goals are to raise more awareness of your mission, raise more money, do more with fundraising, attract the media. Although some may argue that now we are the media because of how we use social media. but it's still important to attract the media, to get some earned media as well. Get people to your website. This is really key. This is what you want people to do. You want to entice people to learn a little bit more about you so that they go on your website. More subscribers to your newsletter. I know social media has helped us with this, whether you have a print newsletter or an electronic newsletter. You could always be posting little quotes from your newsletter, find out more, and then link to it. Recruit more volunteers. Not sure what your goals are, but since everyone else is on social media, you should be. That's a good place to start, and I think that's a very honest place if you're coming from that. So our next poll, what should you choose? We have all these social media choices. I'm just going to ask you, who thinks you should be on what particular, if you can only choose one, which one would it be? Wow, a lot of people are choosing Facebook. Instagram is another one coming in strong. Great. Wow, so Facebook is still the most popular here. Okay, well, hopefully I can change your mind a little bit, but we'll see. But if Facebook is working for you, that's great. Now I have to go back to sharing my screen. All right, so hopefully you're seeing step 2. Choose your platforms by understanding. Wait, I think we have to go back to. All right, great. So step number 2, choose your platforms by understanding where your current audience is and the platforms being used by those you want to reach. So many of you mentioned Facebook, and that's wonderful if you know that your audience is there and that you're getting a lot of engagement there. Colleague of mine, Beth Ann Dobish of Children's Specialized Hospital, they've been doing a lot of virtual events, and they had a dance marathon that usually would take place in person. And they really started to use TikTok and Twitch, but I never heard of Twitch before, but it's kind of known for like a video gaming social media network, but they actually saw that they were getting a lot of response on that. So while the big ones are important to include, you might want to check out some of the smaller ones too, because you really want to go where your audience is. So are you more text-based or more video? Or a little combination of both. Here at the Center for Nonprofits, we're not so much video, but we're trying to get more into that. But we really are about sharing resources, sharing articles, and sharing other websites. So I would say we are more text-based. But a lot of you out there, the work that you're doing, it's really pulling on the heartstrings, and there are photos, there are videos that you're sharing, and that's where you might want to be on more on Instagram and more on YouTube, and perhaps TikTok. So in your social media plan that I want you to draft, you should really write down where you are and also your handles on this. Now, of course, if you're the communications director or if you're the executive director, you probably already know this, but all of this should be in writing in case you change jobs or in case you want to have a meeting with your board and really let them know. If somebody says, what's your social media plan like? It could be part of your communications plan. It's not necessarily part of your strategic plan, but of course your strategic plan can steer your social media plan and of course your communications plan. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the platforms. So Facebook is still the most popular used with over 2 billion monthly active users, and it's consistent amongst most of the age groups. The pros, of course, can include several lines of text in your post, may include a clickable link to your website, or for calls to action, you can set up private groups. You can also create an event on Facebook. The cons, not everyone sees your posts in your feed as Facebook's algorithms continue to change, and especially if you've got a lot of followers on Facebook and if you're following a lot of people. And their rules for advertising boosting posts can be complicated. I'm not going to talk too much about paying for social media on this webinar, but of course there are resources on that. And if you do have a budget for that, it should be included in your plan. But I'm going to really talk about how you can maximize some of the free things that are on social media. So here's an example of one of our members using a Facebook create an event. This is YMCA up in northern New Jersey, and they have this virtual event coming up. So they have it right there on their website that you can click. Here's a lesson learned at the Center for Nonprofits. We did create an event for one of our webinars that was absolutely free. We included where you get tickets, the link to actually register for the webinar. And what happened was some sort of bot got us and filled up every single spot you could imagine. So this was, our webinar, I think, could hold about 500 people. So this bot went ahead and registered 500 people. It looked like the writing was Russian, not really sure what it was, but I'm glad we caught it right away. So to fix that, we, in the ticket area, especially if it's a free event, because that's what can get filled up really quickly, in the ticket area for it, we have people going to our events page. So we have the link to our events page. So there's a next step, which helps us a little bit of a buffer there. So, you know, that's one of the things you got to be careful with social media on. So Twitter. While its growth is slower than other platforms, we think it might have plateaued in some ways. It's popular with many demographics. The pros, your posts appear in all of your follower feeds, and it's the best way to get news, especially if you're following reputable sources. We follow a lot of reporters, nonprofit influencers. It's nice if they do an article on us to give them a shout out, and it kind of extends the length of that article, gives it a little bit more staying power. You can include a clickable link in Twitter for your audiences to get information or to act immediately. It's a rapid scroll, so it's okay to repost your message often, or if you make a mistake in your post or whatever, you know, it's a little bit more forgiving than other social media sites. The cons, even with the character increase a few years ago, you're still limited to how much you could say, and since the scroll is rapid, your followers may miss your post. So that's one of the things. Okay, so calls to action are great for Twitter, and you can pin something to the top of your Twitter feed so that people see that right away when they come on. We have been pinning to all of our social media sites our COVID-19 resource page, and we do update that often so that when people come to our site, it's the first thing that they see. Of course, if something else comes up and it's something we need people to act on that day, we might pin that message to the top. So pinning messages to the top of your social media platform is really a great feature, and if you're not using it, you might want to check that out. Okay, so LinkedIn. More followers now than Twitter, and it's mostly a professional platform and excellent for career building. Again, no pics of your pet or sappy inspirational sayings. It's really meant to be a professional development platform. And here at the Center for Nonprofits, we've like doubled in the last year with LinkedIn followers. And it's a perfect one for us because we do a lot on professional development. We do have a jobs board. We do often highlight some of our members for their awards and things like that. So the pros, again, are you can post nonprofit professional development, networking opportunities. You can showcase your expertise by publishing articles. Can be used as your own blog. It's got a great feature there where you can put photos in and links. And then people can share it. You know, I don't know if they actually call it a blog, but it's article sharing on LinkedIn. You can really set yourself up as an expert in your fields. You can attract staff and volunteers and give board members an opportunity to be linked with your organization. They can put right on there that they're a board member. You can link to your website, recognize your partners for their professional achievements. Cons, not all your posts show up in your followers' feeds. It does get a little buried sometimes, and posts stay in play for a while. And since the feed is random, your old news can still pop up, which is fine. I think to kind of fix that, always make sure that you put the date. So if you're saying I'm having this event on Tuesday, make sure you put what October date that would be, because if somebody's looking at that and it's old, they might think it's that week's Tuesday. So that, that's just one of the ways that you can kind of fix that. So here's a great example, the food bank, South Jersey. So they're honoring 35 Faces of Hunger, and they have that right on their LinkedIn page. And again, this is a perfect place to really showcase the professional people that work in their industry. So I'm going to pause here for a minute to talk about Instagram. Now, I did update these slides from the last time, if any of you have been on my presentations, but I still have to keep this one Instagram pick up because I resisted Instagram forever on a personal level. I was just like, I'm not going to go on Instagram, and my kids were on it. They're young adults now, but they were like, we got to get mom on Instagram. How do we get mom on Instagram? So they actually created an Instagram page for my dog. So since my dog had an Instagram page, I had to get one too. Now, this is definitely the place where you could put those cute pictures of your animals, and you could put little sappy sayings, and you could celebrate National Sons Day and Daughters Day and all of those things, and tag the people that you love. So, but for your nonprofit, you should probably be a little bit more professional than for your personal Instagram. So Instagram, visual content has dominated, and Instagram has become more popular than Twitter. Again, the pros, show your mission programs with photos and videos. People are busy. They want to look at a quick video. They want to look at your story. It's easy to scroll through and like things. And if you're already on Facebook, it's owned by Facebook. The platforms can be connected. Younger population, opportunity to attract new audience. Some of the cons, the biggest con is that you can't include a clickable link unless you have a really huge amount of followers. And it's not that easy to use on a desktop. Really need to have a smartphone. To see analytics, you must create a business account. There's no additional charge for that. We have a business account for the center. But people are really on Instagram, and what's great is once you get to know a little bit better, and I can't say that I'm really a pro at it, but if people tag you in their Instagram, if they tag your organization, then you can also share it that way. So it's not as easy to share as LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook, but if somebody actually tags you in it, then you can share. So here's Grounds for Sculpture, one of our members. They are the perfect example for using Instagram. They are very visual, and it's very artistic. So Instagram is really their mission in pictures. So consistency of brand on social media is really important. So wherever you are, make sure you're using your logo. Some people like to mix it up a little bit with what they'll post on individual ones. Some people will post the same thing on all of them. You could really do like some beta testing there to see what might be better if you post on Instagram, what gets more likes, and if you post that on Facebook. I do try to change ours around a little bit for each one and don't always post at the same time. So, that's something you can always play around with. So posting permission. So here is our third poll. Just to kind of give you an idea, who at your organization should have the admin rights? So admin rights meaning full access to what you can post, what you can delete. So let's see what you all think here. Should it be executive director and your communications director? Those people plus more at your staff? Not really sure. Should it be an outside consultant? Okay. Let's see the results. So executive director and communications director for sure. 2 listed above and 2 other staff members or any other staff members. All of your board? Not really sure. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about this. So policies and procedures are really important for you to write down and keep in your social media plan. I think when it comes to what we can and can't do, we should really follow the rules more than the for-profits, because as we know, we are 501c3s and we are set to a higher level of standards. So we really want to make sure that we're not doing anything that might cause any type of controversy or anything that's uncomfortable. So establish who from your organization will post. An example might be your organization's leader and a communications staff member. This just makes it easier because a lot of times if there are more people involved, you might be posting the same things and it might get a little confusing. And maybe not everybody in your organization knows what the policies are. So while you can definitely open it up to more than just two people, you really need to set some rules and make sure that people are keeping their personal accounts separate from their private accounts, because we know it's easy to toggle in between two. And there are certain things that you might want to post on your private account that you don't want to post on your organization's account. And of course, encourage everybody to like and share, volunteers, board members, that sharing and liking and commenting, people could be as generous and broad with that for sure. Keep lists of usernames and passwords at home in case you don't have access to work site and need to post breaking news, closings due to weather, etc. I mean, I think we've all been living this for the last 6 months, so this one goes without saying that we all do have an emergency program and we know how to work remotely and inform our communities that we're working remotely. Okay, while you can't control what other people post to your Facebook wall, it's good to have a policy for deleting maybe partisan content or other types of posts like unauthorized commercial activity. Certainly have a policy, put it in writing what you would do about a troll. Constructive criticism is good and can sometimes lead to a little bit more engagement if somebody doesn't agree with something you posted, and perhaps it's your opportunity to educate. But if somebody's being a downright troll, delete that and figure out a way. But you should always let somebody know what you're doing. So at the Center for Nonprofits, it's our CEO and myself that control all of our social media outreach. And, oftentimes I will reach out to Linda, our CEO, and just say, what do you think of this? It kind of seems a little strange. What do you, so we definitely have that back and forth, which is great. But, when in doubt, I would say lean on the conservative side. And sometimes some unauthorized commercial activity happens. Sometimes you've got a great post up there about your organization, something that you're doing, and then somebody puts in the comments, oh, want more about this? Link to this, and it has nothing to do with what you're doing. Or you might be providing this service free to your community and they're charging for it. So things like that, have a policy for what you would do for something like that. And again, you can block stuff and people won't even know it. So you should really just again, put it in writing. Okay, can't post that. So here is our fourth poll going up. So what do you think of some of these things that, which of the following activities are permitted on social media? Could it be electioneering, endorsing political candidates, conducting raffles and auctions? Of course, we're all doing so much online these days. Fundraising for the benefit of private interests or an individual. Or how about none of the above? Take a time to look and see what you're all responding to. We must have all 501c3 professionals on this, looking at some of the results here. Let's give everybody another minute, another few seconds. All right, so all of you agree electioneering, can't do it. It's conducting raffles and auctions. Let's talk about that one. Fundraising for benefit of private interests, right? Okay, none of the above. All right. So I'll go back to sharing my screen. Thank you everybody for participating in these. Okay, so electioneering, definitely a no-no. We have to be nonpartisan as nonprofits, and you have to be careful that make sure that this is why your private accounts need to be very separate from your social media accounts. And a lot of times people will put right on their Twitter feed, opinions are my own, so that nobody gets confused, especially if you're a leader of an organization. Posts are my own. That's always good to say. And of course, you can't endorse any candidates, but you can talk about voting. No, you can help people, encourage them to go out and vote. You can talk about the issues that affect your nonprofit. If that's legislation or other things, on the center's website, we have a whole section, nonprofits can lobby, and some more guidelines on that as well. A few of you have said conducting raffles and auctions. This is such a touchy issue right now. There is really no way you could do a cash raffle online. It's not legal right now, and it would have to take some. We're working on that, trying to figure out how nonprofits can do that. But I was on a webinar a couple of months ago, and somebody said they were having their gala, and they were having the toughest time figuring out how they could get an online raffle. And the reason why they were having a tough time was because there isn't one. So I do see a lot of nonprofits doing it. Don't really know what the repercussions will be for that, but if you really shouldn't be doing it. You really shouldn't even be selling cash raffle tickets online, let alone social media. So you really have to be careful with that. Other types of auctions, I mean, it's a little bit of a touchy situation there. So of course you can't be fundraising for an individual. If you want to do that, that's a GoFundMe thing, and that's something that your organization really wouldn't be participating in. So again, I would have said none of the above for all of that, but the auctions and the raffles is something that we all need to figure out what we're going to be doing if we're going to be doing online galas for the next 6 months, and there really needs to be a guideline for nonprofits. Okay, so put this on your actual plan. What will you post? List all the categories. Examples might include events, recognizing partners, updates on your programs, articles related to your mission. What are your posting guidelines? What won't you post? When in doubt, ask your leader. Examples may include messages from political candidates, children's photos without parental consent, donations, solicitations out of state. You're all, as nonprofits in New Jersey, can fundraise in the state, but you don't really know how far and wide your social media goes as well. So it's always a good idea to get people back to your website, or get people to a spot where a portal, a fundraising portal someplace other than just in social media. Okay, step 4, set goals. So measure your programs with analytics, include in your plan how many followers you'd like to grow by on each platform. Example, Facebook followers now 15,000, raised by 15% in the next 6 months. How would you like to see your engagement increase? Liking, commenting, sharing, and clicking. With analytic tools, you can closely monitor your reach. And I did include a resource list there. So on the handouts, I do see we have a couple of questions. I know this might be a good time to kind of take a look and see what people are thinking. Let's see. Let's see, can I see the questions here? I see a hand raised. I don't see the questions though.
We don't
Andrew,
have
can you
any.
help me out? Okay.
We don't have any questions submitted yet. So, but
Okay.
if any, oh, we just got one in. So, Let's see here. Do you see it, or I can certainly ask it?
From experience working in nonprofit, do you see nonprofit organizations struggling more with social media organizations or taking advantage, understanding social media trends? I think people are getting better with it. I think that as a society, we're all struggling with social media, but I think nonprofits are getting a little bit better with, I'm seeing some nonprofits that maybe were just developed a couple of years ago really being strong on social media. But I know personally, I don't like to look at Facebook. The only reason why I have a Facebook account is because you need a personal one in order to be posted on your organization. But I think just in general, the struggle is coming from some of the individual, the back and forth that we're all getting. And I think a lot of people have grown on social media, especially during the pandemic, because we've been working more remotely and we need to see more resources. So I think we're having an opportunity to engage a little bit more on social media. So I think that we're getting a little bit better as a sector, hopefully. Some people might disagree. Okay. So setting goals. Again, how would you like to see your engagement increase and your analytics as well? Put these all in writing, maybe be a little bit conservative about it, say 15% instead of 20%. And then when you exceed your goals, it'd be great to tell your board. Establish your posting frequency. Take a look at how often you can post. It does take a lot of work. So, and I'm not a big fan of scheduling your social media posts because you never know what the news cycle might be, and you might have to take something off if it's something really fun and celebrating, and then it's a really bad news day. So I would just say, just build it into your calendar times when you can actually sit and post, and share all your partners' information. That's really important. So I've heard social media experts say that 1/3 of your information should be informational with resources that are important to your community. Another third should be promotional. So you could talk about events coming up. You could talk about membership to your organization if you're a membership organization. And then the other third should be sharing news about your partners, what they're doing, liking and again, highlighting what they're doing. And maybe it's your funders, sharing all that information. So, it's not all about you. We'd like it to be, but it's not. So, and I would start with organic reach, like I said before, but have in mind a budget range. If you're going to boost your posts, maybe $4 to $5 a post, go ahead and put that in your social media plan. If you've got a great budget, wonderful. You can try it and see what you come up with paying for some posts. Okay, so here is the 5th poll and final poll. Analytics, why bother? So, a couple of things here. What is the benefit of knowing your social media analytics? Talked a little bit about some of these already. So a few questions here, so I'll give you. Great. Wonderful. Well, you couldn't go wrong on this one because these all work, in my opinion. And again, like I said, social media is not free. You definitely want to justify what you're doing. So social media is definitely not free. So having those analytics in place say, okay, this is what we've been working on, and this is the impact that we're making. So create content and hash out your campaigns. So this is step number 5. Working with your staff board, and this is where your strategic plan comes in hand. Have one, if you have one, develop 3 or 4 campaigns for the next 6 months. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit on our social media plan in a few minutes. And, you know, we had to pivot with COVID-19, as all of you did. So we didn't get to do a lot of our campaigns, but still put those dream projects in there in your plan, and perhaps you'll be able to get to them. Or if you need to pivot, at least you'll know that they'd be good for next year. So brainstorm on creative hashtags, but do a search to see if they're already in use. It's not a deal breaker if you find a similar hashtag, but make sure it doesn't conflict with your message. That's really important. You want to make sure that it's not something totally out of the park. Now, I know I mentioned this in another program that there was the confusion of when Margaret Thatcher died, the hashtag was now Thatcher's dead. And it actually, if you read it quickly, it said, now that Cher is dead. So it was really confusing. That hashtag was trending and people were confused. So, you know, I mean, that's something you probably wouldn't do for your nonprofit, but you always want to make sure that you're choosing a hashtag that really aligns with your values, and that if you look it up in someplace else and it's not some sort of, you know, group that's doing something totally against what you're doing. Okay, so our annual nonprofits conference's hashtag is NJNPConf, and people use it all the time, and it's great. We don't put NJNPConf 2020, we don't do the year. Some people do, and that's great, but I like going back and looking at the years in the past if everybody's using the same hashtag. And at our conference last year, we had a professional photographer providing free digital headshots for attendees to use in their social media profiles. Once we all get back into in-person events, if you're doing a gala or some sort of a conference, that's always a great idea. People always want a new headshot. Our virtual conference, we are going to be doing headshots. More information coming on that soon. But again, have in the background at your conference, or even if you're doing virtually, you could do it too, a step and repeat, which is the banner with your logos, and also those social media photo frames with your event's hashtag. They should be included in your marketing or event budget. I think we could do some of them virtually. Let's see what happens. But you know, hopefully in 6 months from now, we'll be back to doing in-person events. But again, this is just more staying power for your mission and for your event to be using a hashtag. We do NPvalentines. We do a few of them that are kind of funny. Again, if it's not a day where there's something really tragic in the news cycle or something that's pressing, these type of things are always fun to do. NPvalentines, we did on Valentine's Day, coming up with some funny sayings. And this is one we did because nothing matters in the whole wide world when you're in love with a Jersey nonprofit. Little play on Jersey Girl there. And our CEO did this one, you know, with the hashtag NPvalentine, and these went viral. This was a big hit that all of the nonprofits, state associations were sharing in. So step number six, and I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to try to go through these kind of quickly, is increase your outreach with partnerships. Make a concerted effort to contact individuals through means other than social media and make it easy for them to share. So you could do your whole board. Every month you could do a list of things that you might be sharing on social media. Send them some photos and images. Make it really easy. Send them actual sample posts. You know, create a group that might include your board or other partner organizations, maybe sponsors and other allies, and follow up with a monthly email. We have promotional partners for our conference, so it's other umbrella organizations, and they get a discount or get to come for free sometimes to our conference if they really help spread the word about our event. But of course, we're all busy, so we really make it easy. I love when I get like a social media toolkit from somebody who wants me to share their information and with sample posts. And again, give a general update on your current social media campaign. Easy sample social media posts that include your hashtag and account handles. Sometimes it's just as easy as letting them know when you're posting and they'll just repost that day. Photos and images you've already created for your campaign. We have a great resource on the resource list. Canva and Adobe are two great places to create easy social media images, and it's usually free. Canva has one that's free just for nonprofits. And then continually monitor the social media channels of your partners and repost their good news often. Because if you're reposting their good news, it's reciprocal. They'll repost your good news as well. And today it's easy, again, to create some of these social media posts that, it's even free photos. It's easy to find. And at your desk, pin some social media cheat sheets for resizing. There is another one that I heard that's easy to resize, a link, and I will send it to you along with the PDF of these slides. But it's, make sure that you're always making everything look good on all your social media channels, so you're not cropping out the most important thing. Include all your social media buttons and e-blasts. Include it right up on the top. Have this in your plan. Make it really easy for people to share your e-blasts just right on their social media pages. On your website, here's a tip I think everybody should change to if you're not doing it right now. Put your social media buttons on the top and not on the bottom. Make it easy. People shouldn't have to scroll all the way to the bottom to see if you're on Facebook, Twitter, or wherever you are. It shouldn't be down below. Just put them on top. Include them in your signatures. Every time you send out an email, have your social media channels right there. Okay, so let's rehash. Step 1, list your goals for being on social media. Step 2, choose your social media platforms by who you want to reach. Step 3, establish policies, procedures, and posting guidelines. Step 4, set goals, monitor your analytics and posting frequency. Step 5, create content and plan campaigns. Again, take advantage of spontaneous things that are happening, but also really plan out the content that you're going to do. It could be that Monday you're planning out for the week, or again, it could be for the month, but have a clear idea of what you're going to do. It could look fresh and look spontaneous, but a lot of thought goes into it. Step 6, build partnerships on social media and make your information easy for all to share. So here's just a brief thing, our 2020 social media plan. I need to look at this a little more carefully. It's probably some typos in here. We have here the overview of the policy and procedures. We have our current social media channels, account management, who actually manages the accounts, what we post, what we share. This year, we also focused on providing the New Jersey nonprofit community with resources on the 2020 census, voter registration information and updates. So up above, this is what we would normally share, and then also save some room for what might be happening that year. Of course, we had to pivot again for COVID-19. What we won't post, when in doubt, always check with the center's president and CEO. And this is important because what if something happens and I need to take a month off from the center and I don't have access? At least this is something that somebody here can take a look at and know what they're doing. Social media goals, we put it right here. Actual numbers, we have just been off the charts with our social media. Definitely, it's LinkedIn's given us a boost, but again, I think people are busy and they're looking for some really fast resources, and they know if they go on social media that they're going to find them. So all of our social media channels have really, our followership has increased dramatically. And you could be as specific if you really wanted to. I know this takes time on the clicks through and what people are doing on your social media channels. You'd love to put out like a really important question out there and to get people to weigh in on it. That's always a good idea. But again, since things move very quickly in social media, sometimes that really needs to be planned. Like you might ask your whole board, today we're posing a question on our Twitter account, please weigh in. When we had our conference a few years ago, we had Vu Lee coming in from the West Coast, and one of the things we asked people was, what should Vu Lee know about New Jersey? So we started a little conversation and people were putting in, he should know that the Statue of Liberty is actually in New Jersey, or he should know we have over 100 miles of coastline. So we were doing some fun things like that. Again, it really takes some prompting though. It takes a little outreach to say to your board members and some of your partners, we're going to be doing this Twitter blast at 12 o'clock on Tuesday. Please join us. And then again, campaigns for 2020, we put them all here, but of course we had to pivot because of COVID-19. And it's always a good idea. Maybe your social media plan isn't for a full year, perhaps it's 6 months, but in this time, maybe it should just be 3 months. What are you going to do, and kind of create that program for that. And our outreach, we even put that up there. What we're doing, stay up to date on the changing algorithms, new features of social media to increase our engagement and visibility. And this is the resource list. I'm going to go through it very quickly because it is included in the handout. So let's see, we do have a question here. All right, I'm going to pause for a moment for questions. Okay, so here we have, I am the social media manager for a public library. Because of COVID, our director has been pushing virtual events on social media since April. Our director has assigned a quota for how often departments should post per week. By this point in the pandemic, our followers are exhausted by virtual events, and our social media feed is oversaturated. We have canceled in-person events for the foreseeable future, and we don't know when they will resume. Our library does not have a formal vision or value statement, leaving many of my social media team feeling directionless. Does New Jersey State Library have any resources for creating a strategic plan? This is for Lee and Andrew. Mission, vision, and value statement specifically to guide a social media team. Interesting question. Definitely we are all in-person, virtual events, we just have fatigue on it. I think when the COVID first started, we were definitely having a lot more people coming to our virtual events, but now it's sort of died down, even our networking events. I think people are just wondering how long this is going to last. And so I don't think you're alone in that we could push things out all the time on social media, but people don't always partake. As far as there being something formal for the libraries, Andrew and Lee, do you want to jump in on that? Are you muted?
Oh, that's a good question. Andrew and I work within the reference department of the New Jersey State Library, so a lot of the library support services, which kind of ties in with this question, are run by a different department, but we can definitely reach out to our marketing department and the library support services and try to get you a better answer for that. That's a great question.
Yeah. And again, I know that, social media is great, but also e-blasts, I feel, we could put a bunch of stuff on social media, but if we're not sending direct emails to our community, a lot of things get lost because a lot of people are just not on social media. I mean, it turns a lot of people off too.
Yeah.
So I know I've taken like 3 days where I'm not even on social media. So I tell people, text me if you need me.
Another thing that is good to point out is that our marketing department does do a marketing blog on the library's website, which is at njstatelib.org. So if you're looking for tips, make sure you sign up for our newsletter that's sent out and also follow their marketing blog, because especially with COVID, they've been posting more about that. So I can put links in the chat.
Great. And here's a question. Are there situations when a nonprofit should not use social media? I think every nonprofit should have social media, but I do think we need to be careful on how we use it, especially since we are dealing with a lot of sensitive communities, clientele perhaps. I think that we should not be overexposing our constituents in some ways. I know that some people think it's okay to post photos of children. I always feel like you need to get parental consent on that. Some people think, well, if I'm not using their name or if I'm just sharing something from someplace else, I'd be really careful on that. Here at the center, it's really not our issue, but we do have a form that you have to, you just check it off on our registration for our conference that we might use your photos, and you're okay with that, which most people are, and most people just assume that that's okay. But again, I think situations where a nonprofit should not use social media, sometimes we shouldn't be quick to post something unless we have all the facts. I think that goes without saying for everybody should be doing that, but especially a nonprofit, we need to kind of step back and maybe get more of a handle on it. There's a lot of rumor on social media. And again, I'm always really careful when I share something that I do, if they have a link, I do click on their link to make sure it's the right link. It's the right article that they're going to, and it's not like a broken link. So that's something that I always check on. But, you know, again, we need to be nonpartisan. So, you know, I think some of the political climate might enrage us sometimes and we want to say something, but we have to be careful about that. Again, if we focus on the issues and not the candidates, we're always okay. Excuse me. But again, I think we really need to be sensitive to the people that we serve. We really can't be exploiting the people that we serve. And I think nonprofits do a pretty good job about that. Occasionally I see something and I'm like, oh, wonder if they really should have posted that. But I think that, you know, we do. Any other questions? I'm just trying to see if I missed anybody. It doesn't look like it. Okay. So are you still seeing my slides?
Yep.
Okay,
Another question came in.
Mhm.
Where was it on your website to find the links to the nonprofits front and center videos?
Okay, so it is in our press room. So we have like a link on the top that says press. I think it says press room. And then if you go into that, it says, I think it's center in the news, and it's there. But I could always include a link with the follow-up information on that. So we have our videos in there. Okay. Any more questions?
Nothing quite yet.
Okay, I know we're close to the time. Oops, we're 3 minutes over. Okay, so great. So again, stay in touch with me, join our email list. You know, again, social media is great, but like I said, email is still king in a lot of ways. You know, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram that we're on. Connect with me on my LinkedIn profile as well. I'd love to hear more about what you're all doing. And thank you. Thank you to the New Jersey State Library, and thank you to all the nonprofits on this webinar today and giving me this opportunity. And again, I am, you know, I am by no means an expert, so if anybody has information to share, please reach out to me. My website, my email is susan@njnonprofits.org if you have any suggestions. And I think that's it. Is there another question? Let's see.
Newsletter list is so important. If any social media platforms falter, you have lost all of your followers.
Yes, that's so true. Definitely. Yeah.
And I can say for the library, we tend to get a lot more responses from our email newsletters that go out rather than our social media posts at this point.
Mhm.
But we've also been developing the email, you know, newsletter list for longer too. So
Right. And you know, what's great, I love to see when I go into our newsletter, we use eye contact. I love to see when people have shared our newsletter on social media. So if you're not doing that, it takes, whatever platform you're on, it takes a couple of steps to learn how to do that. But I really advise you do, because what we do is we have our social media on top to share, and then our social media on the bottom to go to our social media sites. But again, the key is to really make it easy for people. I mean, the easier you make it, because we're all just overwhelmed with information, the easier you make it, the more people will share. Okay.
all right. Well, I'd like to thank you, Susan, and thank you, Lee, for joining us today. I'd also like to thank everybody for attending and continuing to support our programming. As I said before, look up for a follow-up email that'll have kind of a recap and some more information so that you have it in case you need to refer to it or you want to share it. Please do. But in that vein, everybody be safe, be well, and we hope to see you soon.
Great. Thanks again, everyone.